They're eating the dogs, Kieran, in Tuscaloosa.
They're eating the
you know
dogs.
that?
They were
They're
eating the dogs.
the dogs.
Oh, a meth raccoon.
Yeah.
Just awful. There is nothing good about this. It's the worst possible scenario for the CFP, for the national championship.
Notre Dame is a mid-program with really good marketing.
And the Michigan players are going to look at that, and anybody who's committing to Michigan in the next years will just go, I want to beat them even more. Like, I wanted to beat them when I first came to this school. Recruits are going to see this.
And we're also sorry that you have to watch a Brian Kelly coach football team. We can only imagine how difficult that must be for you, knowing that you're not going to win a big game ever with him as your coach, and that you're rooting for a child murderer.
This podcast has gone off to a really weird start, but I like it.
I love it, though. I'm a big fan. We are back after a week off. Thank you, everyone, for sticking by us on that. Kieran had some work things. Again, he is just once again showing his lack of commitment to this podcast for the job that is paying him real dollars to do it, which is unacceptable. And I might fire him this time for real. So thank you. We are looking for a new co-host. We will be doing further auditions like we did last time when we brought on Jared to see if he wanted to fill Kieran's role. We have Kelcey from High-Low Sports joining us, filling in Kieran's shoes. Hair's not quite as red. I hate his team even more than Penn State, but I still like Kelcey. So, yeah. Kelcey, thank you for hopping on. How you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't think you'd ever let an Auburn fan back on the show, so I appreciate it. It's been a while, but, I guess that's purgatory for being on the other side of the state. But, yeah, no, it's always great to be here. I don't know if I'm not willing, good enough to be Kieran's replacement, but you know what? I'll do my darndest.
Yeah, just talk with an Irish accent occasionally, talk about rugby. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, I have no idea how anything in rugby works other than I know what a scrum is, and I know what putting it in touch means. Those are the only two things I know.
Oh, apparently Boston's rugby team is good and is in the playoffs.
Oh, I would have never guessed.
Things I've learned doing this podcast with Kieran.
We have changed how Irish they are.
Yes, we have changed our tagline on the show. It's mostly football except for the shenanigans, which is really what you're here for, Kelcey. You're here because I know you know a lot about college football, but also the shenanigans. It's what makes things more fun, more entertaining.
I'm here for that. I'm literally the walking shenanigan.
I am too. Sometimes to my own detriment. My shenanigans have gotten me in trouble with certain people at Belly Up. We cleaned it up, though. We've cleaned it up.
It's okay. Hey, you have to have growing moments, right? You're learning moments. That's what they are.
Exactly. But we're just going to jump right into someone who has a lot of shenanigans attached to his name. Hugh Freeze, Auburn's coach. Kelcey, being an Auburn fan, I felt like having you on was a perfect opportunity to have an honest conversation about Hugh Freeze, what the expectations are going into the year, and how you feel he's done so far during his Auburn tenure. Because as an Alabama fan, I see the jokes about kind of his shenanigans at previous stops. Auburn fans were calling DeBoer Husky Harsin, saying Hugh Freeze was going to kill him on the recruiting trail. Recruiting has not done as well as you guys would probably have hoped, nor have the results in the field been there. So what are your honest thoughts on the Hugh Freeze experience?
Yeah, let's start with recruiting, because I think that's a really good point. Recruiting has been buoyed by a wide receiver class, both in transfers and in right out of high school recruitment, that looks good. Cam Coleman looks good on paper. The problem is the other 10 guys on the field, or, there's 3 receivers on the field. So the other 8 guys on the field, you're struggling recruiting. Hugh Freeze has always been, in my eyes, a coach where I look at him as a mid-level. Like, he's great at the Sun Belt Conference level. He's great as a Liberty, who is, by the way, going to be joining, I think, the Sun Belt now. I've always struggled with Hugh Freeze as a D1 powerhouse. Loose use of the term powerhouse right now, because Auburn, powerhouse is a nice word. But, it is. I don't know. I think Auburn's struggling to find an identity here, and Hugh Freeze is good enough in recruiting, and by good enough in recruiting, I mean he's good enough at hiring recruiting to make the rounds, because obviously he's out there playing golf right now instead of on the recruiting trail. So, I just to put it clearly, I don't love Hugh Freeze, in case that was a shock to anybody based on my comments so far. But I think he's still better than some of the alternatives they were throwing out. But I also still, and I think this is what we talked about last time I was on your show, was Brian Harsin. I still think Brian Harsin was shafted in the opportunity to maybe build his own staff and develop, but I also don't think he was ready. I think Brian Harsin was used as a scapegoat to get to Hugh Freeze, and I always hate that no matter where it is. But I think this is like, if I'm looking at straight X's and O's, Hugh Freeze can do it, but not at this level. And that's what scares me as an Auburn fan. Frankly, I'm worried. But yeah, recruiting looks good because of Cam Coleman, a couple other recruits here and there. That receiving class looks good, but like, you're getting leftovers everywhere else.
I do agree that Harsin did kind of get shafted. I mean, making up stories about him sleeping with his assistant, that's kind of thing you expect from either Auburn or Gump Twitter. Yeah. Auburn, because they hate the guy. Gump Twitter, because they hate Auburn and want to make fun of them. But the minute that it actually gets involved in your decision, if we're keeping this guy employed, you've lost the plot. And my question would be, as a lot of people, there's two camps that I see in Auburn right now. It's the people who are going, Hugh Freeze just needs time. We got to ride with him. He's our coach. And then there's the other camp where it's fire him now, banish him from the state of Alabama. We hate him. And I forgot this third camp, which is we're still paying our last like 3 or 4 coaches. We cannot do another buyout.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know where I fall into all three of those, maybe a mix of them. I think this with Hugh Freeze, he always gives you 1 10-win season, no matter where he's gone. He's had 1 10-win season. This year, can I see it? I don't know. Transfer quarterbacks, first-time quarterbacks, no matter where they are, freshmen, sophomores, red shirts, Jackson Arnold. I don't know who the answer is at quarterback right now, and that's terrifying as a fan who has a great receiving core right now that looks, for all intents and purposes, Cam Coleman could compete with the likes of Jeremiah Smith if he has a quarterback and that quarterback has an offensive line and the coach has IQ points. But I'm not saying he's going to be that same level. He's going to be like that tier below Jeremiah and even Ryan Williams. But it terrifies me to look at this team and think, oh yeah, they're going to be they're 25th on the odds makers list for national champions this year, like 6,600. It's like, no, we're not there yet. Like maybe whatever 25,000 is plus 100,000, maybe okay, sure. But yeah, right now it's not there. And Hugh Freeze is just in a weird spot. I don't know if I want to give him more time, or I don't know if he can figure it out in one season. It's too much changeover for me to be comfortable with where he's at, because everywhere else he's developed somebody for 4 years to get him a win, get him that winning season.
I think your guys' best bet is going to be the Birmingham Bowl. That's going to be the high point of y'all's season.
I mean, look, maybe we go to Nashville. Maybe we get a Music City Bowl out of this. maybe the best case scenario, we go to Mobile for something. That'd be nice.
I'm not even joking. I was going to say the Birmingham or Music City Bowl.
So
the fact you said maybe we'll go there.
Look, it's the fact is, like, third place in the SEC, if nobody goes to the playoffs, is the Outback Bowl. Like, the odds that nobody from the SEC goes to the college football playoffs is slim. The odds that 2 teams from the SEC don't go to the playoffs is slim. So maybe 3 teams go from the SEC, and then Auburn gets the Outback Bowl as like the 7 seed, maybe, hopefully. But no, I'm just hoping for a winning season. To be completely honest, I need a bowl season. I need 7 wins just to feel comfortable going forward. I know that's going to eliminate Jackson Arnold. I know that's going to eliminate half of the good players on defense. Well, what's left of them, which, by the way, came from the Brian Harsin classes, or class, I should say. But yeah, I don't know. Give me 8 wins and I'm ecstatic. Give me 7 wins and I'm happy. Give me 6 wins and it's like, all right, that's expected.
At what point will you lose your mind? out of disappointment?
Thank God New Mexico State, I don't believe is on the schedule again. Maybe another loss in week 1, 2. I believe Auburn opens the season in Atlanta, and then after that, it's opens with Baylor, Ball State week 2. Don't lose to Ball State. Don't lose to South Alabama week 3. If it's close, it's I remember you know this from Alabama was struggling last year. I forget who it was. USF. They were down 14-7 or something going into halftime. If that happens against like South Alabama or Ball State, I might cry and visibly record myself crying. Like it's that bad. I don't have hope to begin with. I don't have a lot of hope to begin with. But if something bad happens in Ball State or South Alabama, that's going to be misery.
That's fair. I get that. I was also going to put a secondary topic on this. Like, let's have an honest conversation about Kalen DeBoer. I don't think you need to talk. You want to talk about that? I don't think we need
Honestly,
to.
I'll be honest about Kalen. I didn't think he was going to be set up for a lot of success. But you know what? I think he's done a lot to recover what was a program just from the look of it. Whether or not people are actually leaving, but from the look and the appearance of it, there were a lot of players ready to walk out the door. And he kept what he could, made the best out of those players, and then excelled in the transfer window or transfer portal to be able to make that team last year what it was. And yes, Vanderbilt is what it is. You know what? Jalen Milroe maybe didn't exceed expectations last year like people were hoping. But that team, given where they were when DeBoer walked in the door, I think for them to be as good as they were last year shouldn't, and I know Alabama fans, I'm speaking to a really big wall of expectations here, but that team, I think in my eyes, exceeded what I expected from them last year.
I don't disagree. I think the Alabama fans who are like, no, it's the same. We're just going to keep going. There weren't that many of them. That was ridiculous. I think the losses hurt in the sense of when they came and who they came to and how it was. I don't want to say it's inexcusable. Vanderbilt was a better team. They were not a joke last year that they have been for the last 1895 when their program started. And then getting blown out to Oklahoma, it wasn't inexcusable. You are coming into a program that has an incredible history and is coming off its greatest stretch, potentially the greatest stretch for any team ever. Mm-hmm. I do think there were going to be growing pains. I did take solace in the fact that the way that roster was constructed was not the way Kalen DeBoer likes his rosters, especially with Jalen Milroe at quarterback. I think Jalen Milroe got a lot of hate. I think he did what he could. He wasn't good at points, but Kalen DeBoer didn't work well with him, not on a personal level, just how his scheme works. He likes a pocket passer. Look at Michael Penix. And that did hurt the team. So I thought kind of going into this offseason, if he can get his guys who can play the game the way he likes to play it, then we might be going somewhere. But I did have some reservations. They've proven me wrong so far, recruiting-wise. I didn't buy into the Husky Harsin thing, but he never was getting top classes. And I understand that's partially just where he was. They did not get top classes at Washington or any of the other stops he was at. They've proven me wrong, but now I need to see, okay, you have some of your guys, not this year. I've been very consistent on this. You need to give a college coach at least 3 years.
Yes.
Probably more if the team is fine. Those 3 years is, okay, we're having half of our team get arrested every year. We're losing 9 games, and he has 3 scandals going on.
We know a few of those teams, don't we?
Yeah, I know, Coach. There's Alabama coaches who didn't even make it to the season.
There are.
Legend Mike Price. Remember, guys, if your company gives you a credit card, do not pay for escorts with it or strippers. At least wait until you've been there for a year and won some games. Don't do it 2 months later.
And to modernize it, don't go bet on BetMGM or whatever app you want to go bet on. Don't do that with the card either, because Lord knows they'll catch you real quick.
Also, do not send your friend to bet and have them call you in front of a camera with audio. Use your full name and ask, who am I betting on? and have the answer be the team you're playing this weekend. Gotta love Alabama baseball.
Oh, man. You know what's honestly, though, I won't even hate on Alabama for this. I think betting rules in college are stupid. But you know what? The Iowa State thing was a perfect example of that. But I digress. That's going down a line that I don't think we need to go down. But Alabama, they don't even allow legal betting anyways. So Alabama, Auburn players, why are you betting on anything?
Alabama, and I'm not getting into the politics of it, but Alabama, it's like they like looking at money other states bring in tax revenue wise and go, no, I'm good. I don't, none of that, please.
Yeah. You know what would be really great? Let's get a lotto. Let's excel our education. You know what's better, guys? Let's go buy a new stadium. That's what we're going to do for every school in the county. I'm a graduate of Geneva High School in Geneva, Alabama for anybody, Alabama School of Math and Science as well. So don't hate me. I am a graduate of an Alabama high school. I get it.
Honestly, if they did the lottery and then used that money for these new football stadiums and facilities, I would be more okay with it because then they'd just be putting more money into the school.
Yeah. Hey, intelligence, look, 48th ranked state in the country. That's all I got to say with education.
No,
I know that's not what we're here for, but you know what? It's number one in the country in football. So that's the best part.
That's true. Mainly the western half of the state, but the eastern half's not terrible all the time.
Yeah, look, hey, high school and college, you're not wrong. I can't even fault you on that at all. I mean, it's so bad. There have been, I think, from high school, 7 straight championships from the 6A, 7A division that are from western half of Alabama, not named Hoover.
Yeah, those, don't work in those high school championships is not fun because we had to stay late at the store right next to the stadium.
Yeah, never fun.
It was brutal. But there you go, an honest conversation about Hugh Freeze, something I've been wanting to have, but I feel like if I try to have it on Twitter, I will get sarcastic or other people will just be mean to everyone.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's so much with Hugh Freeze I could dive into that it just doesn't really matter for the Hugh Freeze conversation, if that makes sense, at Auburn. Like, if we're talking his history and all that stuff, that's a whole nother mess of...
Oh, yeah.
But just at Auburn, I just don't know if he's made... And I'm not even going to use Auburn. I mean, I don't think he's made for an SEC... I'm not even going to count him Power 5. Power 4, and I'd say half of the group of fives. I don't think he's made for those conferences. I don't think he would do well in the American if it was a purely American schedule. I don't think he would do well there. But I think the Sun Belt, Conference USA, that's fine. That's where he'll excel. I mean, that's where he's excelled in the past. Maybe a UCF after Gus Malzahn, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's what a lot of coaches have done. He looked decent against Alabama for a few years, so teams will keep giving him chances.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you view him similarly to how I view Bret Bielema, except not as good. If you put Bret Bielema in the Big Ten, oh, buddy, get ready for some exciting, well, not exciting because it's Big Ten football, but some good quality Big Ten football.
What mascot would he look like next is my question. What school do I put him at in the Big Ten to make him look like their mascot? That's my biggest question. Do I put him with Purdue? Because, he has the nature of, looking like the teams he coaches. And I don't know how it happens, but he's looked like, a Badger. He the Badger logo. Now he looks like a Razorback. What are we doing here?
Yeah, but he doesn't look enough like an eye.
That's fair.
I don't even know what Illinois.
But he is. I mean, he is getting a spray tan though, so
that's true.
He is getting pretty orange.
He's just trying to fit in.
Maybe Syracuse. Maybe that's the next stop.
It's all leading up to Syracuse.
He's got the same rotund shape, so we'd be good.
But thank you for bringing up mascots.
Yeah.
The call that everyone expected to be coming, Lee Corso with his retirement, the mascot heads are retiring, and Reese Davis has even said if he sees someone try to put one on, he will get in a 3-point stance to put a stop to it. Do you think this is the right call?
Yes. I think this goes in the category of things that historically just make sense to exist with somebody. Now, as I say that, I'm sitting here racking my brain as far as who I could compare him to for that same type of nature. Maybe it's like John Madden, the turducken. I kind of feel the same way about the turduckens. So I don't think it should happen anymore. I know he started the tradition, but I don't think it should happen. I do think there are maybe some teams the mascot heads could be used, but like as an Auburn fan, we hated seeing Corso put any mascot head on for Auburn. We barely liked him picking Auburn to begin with because usually it means we lost, and that's just the nature of it. Most teams are like that. They don't enjoy the mascot being picked anyways because they don't want to lose. And I don't know. I like some of the gimmicks you can do other than putting the mascot head on, because I think Lee Corso, when he did it, started it and ran through, even up till the 2010s, it made a lot of sense. Now there's so many fun things you can do. I mean, I don't want to say throw computer generated stuff out there, but there's a lot of fun things you can do with that would make a lot more sense for the market they're trying to get. So I'm fine with the mascot heads being retired.
Yeah, I think, and with the current lineup of panelists, I think they do have a lot of directions they can go. Pat McAfee can do something ridiculous. I think that's going to be the de facto option. They just have Pat McAfee do something like, hey, we're going to put these 2 drinks in front of you. Maybe not drinks, unless they want to jump into a river again, but something along those lines. Because I have felt for years they were working to replace Corso. Not in a go away, but he was retiring soon. You brought in McAfee for the comedy. You brought in Saban for the coaching standpoint or viewpoint. So I think it's been good. I do have one caveat where I 100% am okay with them unretiring the mascot head for certain weeks of the season. And that is if they are going to Indiana and Lee Corso is the guest. That's the only person who should be putting on the mascot head from now until the end of time.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. You know what's funny? You bring up Pat, and I was sitting there thinking of it as I was saying it. I don't know what Pat McAfee would do, but I got to imagine it's going to be something stupid. And I don't mean that, like, I'm saying that in the Nick Saban way, like, God, that's so stupid. Just because you're just like, that doesn't make sense. But it's, again, for the audience they're trying to attract, Pat McAfee would be the go-to. And it could be something like he's going to have these, like you've ever seen the baby announcements, the little poppers. Like, maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's something as wild as, like, he has a cigar and it lights up a certain color for the team he picks. I don't know. There's so many more fun things you can do with Pat than if you ask Nick Saban, hey, wear a tie for whatever team you're going to.
Yeah. I feel like they could do, or what they would do is, because when Pat McAfee first came on, he did just wear his traditional tank top that he loves wearing. And people said, clean it up, wear real clothes. I could see them doing, he's wearing the button down to start, and then he rips it off, and it's just whatever school it is on the chest. And then at some random point, maybe when they're at Alabama or something, they have Nick Saban do that instead.
That would be sick. Honestly, if Nick Saban ever did that, whether it's for Alabama, again, everybody has never heard me talk about Alabama and Nick Saban. As much as I dislike Alabama, I respect Nick Saban with every fiber of my being because I know how good he is. I was recruited by him. I understand what it takes to be a part of his team, and I knew I wasn't cut out for it. And I know what it means to be that guy that played for him. And so it's like, I respect what he did. So if he did that, I'd lose my mind from excitement. That would be something I'd talk about for years. Like, that would be the greatest day of college game day ever. Easily.
Oh, yeah. And I'm just saying Alabama because I think it would have to, they couldn't do it if they're doing some random school. Like if they're, for some reason, going to a random Pac-12 matchup.
No. I can't think of a Pac-12. USC maybe, but like it wouldn't be Nick Saban that does it. Maybe Michigan State, he could do it. But that's like a back in the Wayback Machine for those.
Randomly goes to Toledo.
Yeah.
That would also be hilarious.
And even then, I still think he's going to have like a sweater over the top. And more than anything, like he just like opened up the jacket to have a sweater of like Eastern Michigan or Michigan State or Toledo on it or something. I don't know. Like there's not a lot Nick Saban would do that would be unentertaining, but that would probably be like the one I'd laugh at the most.
Yeah, I'm curious. Or they're just going to have Kirk Herbstreit's dog run across in whatever.
Yeah,
jersey.
I don't know. I'm
that's
not a big
an
fan
easy
of dog
one.
labor.
That's, yeah. But you're
Leave
making
that
these
poor dog
segues
alone.
so easy. Speaking of labor and labor disputes, Wisconsin is suing Miami for tampering with Xavier Lucas, who tried to enter the transfer portal last December. Wisconsin said no. He then enrolled in Miami anyway. after signing a 2-year contract with the Badgers. So Wisconsin is suing Miami. And I've been saying it all offseason. When X happens, college football will be dead college football is dead as we know it. We have one school suing another school due to a contract violation. But it does bring up an interesting tidbit. Xavier Lucas did not break any rules. He just enrolled at another school without entering the portal at all. Nothing was stopping players from doing this. I don't know why we didn't think of this sooner.
This was intelligent on so many levels. I know we talked about this off air when it happened, and it was like, you know what? This is the smartest moment any player has ever had. Because it's like, you know what? Let me use my IQ and just skirt the NCAA clearinghouse rules because they're a joke anyways. And I don't know. I look at this. This is hilarious. The fact that they're claiming torturous interference on this case, though, is probably the most insane part to me. Because that's a high level like crime. That's not just some podunk like, oh yeah, he tried to scalp my talent. No, that's like a lot of money and potential death sentences for programs in this case for sports. So that's a wild claim.
Yeah, I hope the NCAA doesn't get too NCAA-y with this. And regardless of the outcome of the case, just goes, you know what? That was smart. That's a loophole we have to close, but that was smart. They didn't break any rules. And also Wisconsin would have to prove, which wouldn't be too difficult, but Xavier Lucas might have been Tom Brady-like and smashed his phone after. But they'd have to prove that Miami did poach him and wasn't just, you know what? It's pretty cold in December in Madison right now. I think I'm just going to go to Miami instead. Yeah, that sounds a lot nicer.
Yeah, like how difficult is that? Like trading the snow for the sunshine. Like I've done it before. I've also gone the opposite way, so I don't know. Maybe I'm a bad person to talk about it. To me, it's the fact that it's the NIL conglomerates, the VC Connect for Wisconsin, is claiming that the coaches were the ones that did it and got him to switch. That to me is going to be the hardest thing to prove, that it was the coaches and not the NIL conglomerate for Miami, which, by the way, I think is still owned or still run by their school. So there's a lot of school loopholes to follow in there that potentially means that it was actual staff that did it and not coaches. So the claim could be all for nothing if they say coaches specifically, and it turns out it's administration.
Yeah, it also still could have been none of them. Xavier Lucas is from Pompano Beach, California. Or Florida, excuse me. I don't know why I said California. I can't read. Even if it was California, it would make more sense. It's warmer. Now he's closer to home. I think this entire, like you said, I think Wisconsin set the bar too high for what they have to prove. And it's going to go nowhere except the NCAA is going to make some stupid rule later on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is going to turn into, this is how you're going to get 1099 workers and W-2 workers that are playing college football. This is what's about to happen.
And are you as down on this as me, saying college football is dead as we know it? Or am I being dramatic like usual?
I won't go that far, but I do think that this is a slippery slope. If NCAA's this, then we're going to be talking college football's dead. If NCAA is just like, whatever, just when the judge throws this out, we'll make a stupid rule about, hey, if this is the case, then you owe your half of your first NIL deal back to the school. Okay, so these NIL programs are now going to offer $4 million instead of $2 million. Like, all right. So sorry, I guess.
I can't wait for the first player to set up an LLC before accepting any NIL deal. So then saying the NIL deals are through the LLC for tax benefits.
I think Caleb Williams did that.
That is not shocking at all.
Because I think that was what he was trying to do. I know it was what he was trying to do with his pro contract, was make it an LLC, so they would have to pay the LLC, but the NFL's like, no, you can't do that. But I think in college he did that at USC.
For all the hate Caleb Williams and his family, mainly his father, with the draft stuff gets, they're very smart when it comes to business stuff, it seems.
Oh, yeah. He's the, they talked about this when he got drafted. He was the guy he's the first Gen Z NFL player. And he really is. Like, he's savvy in all the right ways for what he's trying to do. And I think that's important. And I think that's what, you talk about this case with Wisconsin. This was a savvy move by a player who's looking out for not only himself, but his family. Like, why am I going to stay here in Wisconsin where I don't enjoy it, where I'm not getting paid as much as I could in Miami? Let me go to Miami. Let me just move. Like, people do that all the time. They just move to another city to get a job.
Yeah. Also, where he's not freezing his nuts off every time he's getting hit by some 200-pound running back.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. I mean, sign me up.
Yeah. Plus, also, I mean, it's the ACC.
Yeah. Nobody cares.
They're not great. According to most people who follow college football, someone who disagrees with that is Thomas Castellanos, who has said some interesting things over the past week or two, starting off with his former school, Boston College. He said, I really wish I would have left when Hafley left, Hafley being Boston College's former coach, but I tried to give it another take. BC wasn't the school for me. I wasn't able to be myself, and I had to try to make myself be something I wasn't. I just didn't like it. Bill O'Brien and I butted heads. I got banged up a few games. We had a meeting, and it kind of blew up in my face. I did so much for the program, and I did everything I could, and I just wasn't repaid the right way. A few questions on this. One, you wanted to be yourself. Why did you go to a Jesuit institution? Two, why did you stay when notorious hard-ass Bill O'Brien was coming in to be your coach? Three, what did you do for the program? You made them mid, which they have been since Doug Flutie won a Heisman.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with this backwards. So number 3, what did you do? Made them exciting for 2 out of the 4 quarters of game before he either got hurt or decided to throw 3 picks straight. Now, going backwards, 2, why'd you play for Bill O'Brien? I think this is one where you look at the resume more than you look at his past history of the guy. Like, he did coach with Alabama. That's a hard thing. We talk about Alabama a lot. Nick Saban, what he does for coaches. People think that means a lot. I'm still like, Bill O'Brien traded DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of peanuts and was shipped out of literally every school he could be potentially coaching for every opportunity they got. But that's my number 2. Now, number 1. Okay, sorry. I don't know what number 1 is anymore.
Why would you go to a Jesuit institution if you wanted to be yourself?
I don't have an answer for it. It's more what I guess I should say. I went to a Jesuit school when I first went out of high school. And that was because I was like, I'm going to try going playing baseball. And I can tell you, I got out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry. I didn't complain. I didn't say anything. I was just, I'm out. I don't need to be here. So I don't know why somebody would do that if they know. I know it's like, oh, it's a D1 school. It can't be that bad. And then they make you sign a contract that says you can't smoke, you can't drink, you can't appear this way in public. You can't have long hair. You have to shave. Like, yeah.
Luckily, I don't think Boston College is quite that bad.
Yeah. It's not Notre Dame.
But, no. I have thoughts on Notre Dame. But, yeah, so I'm curious what is going on with Thomas Castellanos and his thoughts on that. He's also said he's there at Florida State currently to save people's jobs so they don't have to move their families. He said he didn't play with anyone in the past, so he's ready to show out. And the reason why I hate him is he was talking about Florida State's game against Alabama this year and said Nick Saban's not there to save them. And we're going to win because Kalen DeBoer is not good. As an Alabama hater, not in a negative way. Like, you just went to Auburn. That's kind of, hey, you agree to pay us this much. You agree to uphold the Auburn creed as we don't make any of our coaches uphold it. And you're going to hate Alabama for the rest of your life. So you have to. What were your thoughts on his comments on the upcoming matchup against Alabama?
Yeah. First of all, let me just clarify. It's strongly just like Alabama, but hate Georgia. And that just goes down to it's your little, Auburn tries to claim it's little brother or just brother for Alabama. I'll just call him brother. I don't need to be calling him little brother. They beat me up too much. It's hating Georgia, though. Okay, so as far as his comments on Alabama, that's the dumbest thing you could do. I've stood by any player ever calling out a better program than them as the dumbest things you could say pre-game when you haven't even played a snap for this team. Now, if you're 7-0 and you're rolling on a high and you are in a Heisman Trophy candidacy and this other team is 3-3, 4-3, maybe they just came off a big loss, then sure, talk your stuff. I don't care. I'm all for smack talk under certain circumstances. This case is like, what have you done to deserve to talk smack to Alabama? What have you done to deserve to? If you said it about Auburn, I'd have the same reaction. Like, why are you doing that? That's the dumbest thing. Penn State, I would have said the same thing. Like, he's done nothing to deserve this to any team. And let alone, I mean, maybe if you were going back and playing BC, okay, talk your stuff. But this case, you're going up against Alabama. Why? And Florida State being what they are lately, even more wise. I mean, your team got shipped out of the playoffs because injuries, because you sucked, and then you got blown out the last good season you had. So let's not kid ourselves in thinking Florida State's back or anything just because Castellanos is there. Like, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of 8 years ago now, and I'm mispronouncing his name, and I apologize. Nife Lialu. He
God.
played for Vanderbilt. I apologize for mispronouncing his name, but it was 2017 when Vandy started 3-0. They said, Alabama, you're next. We're going to show you how to play some real SEC ball, and then promptly lost 59-0 and went 1-7 in the SEC that year. But I believe they went 5-7 overall. So they did have 4 non-SEC wins. Unfortunately, those wins came against Middle Tennessee, Alabama A&M, and ranked Kansas State, who they beat 14-7. Then they lost to Alabama 59-0. First game we saw Tua in, proceeded to lose 38-24 to Florida, 45-14 to Georgia, 57-35 to Ole Miss, 27-30 or 34-27 lost to South Carolina. They did beat Western Kentucky 31-17, lost to regular Kentucky 44-21, lost to Missouri 45-17, and then managed to beat Tennessee 42-24 in Neyland to end the season. And that's how they showed how they won some real SEC ball. Yeah. It's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, really, I loved, go back to that game, 59-0 loss that Vandy suffered. I love Jalen Hurts' comments. It's like, normally we like to respect our opponent. We didn't feel like we were given respect, so we didn't give the respect. So that's telling how Alabama has acted since Nick Saban. That whether it's DeBoer or not, I think DeBoer is, while he's not from the Saban tree, he has a lot of the same mentalities. And this is one of those moments, like, you don't do this to a Kalen DeBoer team. He proved that at Washington. Oregon talked all that smack about Washington, and guess what? They got smacked. Like, this is the same thing, except for he has a better team. Let's not give them poster board material because you just gave them everything they need for the season.
Give us all the poster board material you want.
No, see, because now what's going to happen, Iron Bowl is going to roll around. It's going to be a 49-0 win, Alabama, and I'm going to sit here and be like, I'm never going back on Kev's show now.
No, it's fine. It's at Bryant-Denny this year, right?
I believe so, yeah. So it's
okay. Then yeah, it'll be a 49-0 win.
Yeah.
If it was at Auburn, it'd be like a 21-19 win off of some bullshit at the end. I'm not going to say who would win that game.
I'm glad you did, because it's a coin flip, right? It's whoever has
someone
the ball last.
Would win off of some shenanigans towards the end of it, whether it be driving down the field with like 10 seconds left and throwing it, a quarterback or throwing a great touchdown pass to send it to overtime and then win, a quarterback who doesn't know how to throw, somehow finding Isaiah Bond in the back of the end zone on a beautiful pass to win, or a kick six. Someone will win in some ridiculous fashion to end the game.
Yeah. By the way, Isaiah Bond, talk about a guy that fell off the end of the earth. That guy fell off the end of the earth.
Well, yeah, he went to Texas, didn't play well, and then got accused of some things heading into the draft. And yeah, so checks out why he fell off. But
good job, Kalen DeBoer, getting rid of him. I remember when that, like, I know he didn't actually get rid of him, but
no, he did. He great judge of character. He got him out. Knew he wouldn't do anything.
And I remember everybody's like, "Oh, why are we getting rid of Isaiah Bond?" Like, don't worry, there's a reason, guys. He knows receivers. Most of his receivers are playing in the pros today.
Yeah. So, yeah, he made Jalen Polk become a second-round pick.
Guy might not even make a roster this year, and he's a second-round pick.
So if anyone's going to question Kalen DeBoer as a coach, just look at Jalen Polk. It just
look at half of the guys he put in the league. Like, it's like, look, the top 10 maybe not too bad. He put a running back in the league that couldn't run a 4.6.
Yeah,
that tells you everything you need to know.
It's impressive.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
I'm I'm jealous. I can't run a 4.6. Where's my NFL contract?
Yeah, I was never even approaching or sniffing a 4.6 in my life. I'll never get there, and I'm fine with that. Put me on a scooter, I might get there. I'm not getting there any other way.
No, I think on my best day I could run like a 4.9.
Yeah,
I'm 5'7", by the way. Like if I were 6'2", like 290, okay, that's not bad. No, 5'7", not great.
No. I was gonna say, I'm sitting here thinking I did a 5.98 was the fastest I ever ran, and that was at 6'2", 330.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, like,
still not great.
Not
Wasn't
great.
good enough to play,
Yeah.
but I could at least run faster than slightly faster than everybody else. That was my size.
But as we're very impressed with Kalen DeBoer's coaching ability and getting guys drafted, Vandy quarterback Diego Pavia is not impressed by the Big Ten. He said, you want to play with the best. You don't want to play with the Big Ten. You ignore those calls. The SEC, it's like week after week. You're not going to get beat on, or you're going to get beat on, excuse me. The Big Ten, you're not going to get beat on with Purdue, Nebraska.
He's right.
So I am a firm believer that the SEC is the best conference. It's the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I think it's SEC. Other people might think it's the Big Ten. I have things that I would disagree with on that, but I can't say you're wrong factually. Because I think if you said the same thing, basically, you want to play with the best. You don't want to play with the SEC. You ignore those calls. The Big Ten, it's like week after week, you're going to get beat on. The Big Ten or the SEC, you're not going to get beat on with Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. If you pick bad teams to end the thought, it looks worse.
But I think he has a point, though. I think if we can compare, Nebraska is a top 10 Big Ten school. I think is where most people would put them. Purdue is that 15 to 10 ranking for Big Tens. Mississippi State is 12. Vanderbilt is 11. So if we're putting it just like deepest we can go for one conference and cutting a line, the deepest for the SEC is still better than the deepest you can go for the Big Ten. But I think the top 5 is where you have a bigger gap in talent. I think 1 through 5 Big Ten is a coin flip every year. 1 through 5 SEC, it's really 1 through 3 every year. And then 4 and 5 is like on the right day, they can be better. But I think just depth-wise, and I think also athleticism, and I've had this conversation with DJ on High Low before, where I think each conference has their own things they're good at. And I think the SEC, they churn out pure freak athletes like no other conference, especially on the defensive side. So to Pavia's point, he is going up against linebackers that run 4.3s and 4.4s and hit like a Mack truck because they're benching 500 or benching 440. And, these are those guys. They're squatting 600 like it's nothing. There's quarterbacks in the SEC squatting 600.
Because they're quarterback squat that.
The Big Ten, what they're great at is always been an offensive game. They put out the best trenches and they put out the best wide receivers, skill players out there, but they don't necessarily put out the most athletic, not every time, but generally speaking, more of their schools put out better skill talents around there. And then defensively, linebackers where they struggle in the Big Ten. So that's like, if we're just comparing apples to apples of position wise, Pavia has a point, but
yeah, the was about the offensive side because the Big Ten now is mostly known for low scoring affairs, punts.
Yeah.
And
that's the crazy thing is it's like they're big teams, right? They're the
front,
top 5
front
matchups.
7 play too.
Yeah.
And
it's weird.
Yeah, it's interesting, but also, the SEC is known for some of the receivers they've put out.
Yeah. Look, 3-2 is a score I've seen in the SEC more often than I've seen in the Big Ten.
That's true. I like more recently though. I feel like it's kind of flipped a little bit because I do remember back around when I was in college was when it started picking up a little bit more offensively, but it was for the longest time defense, like the game of the century, Alabama versus LSU in 2011. The final score was like 9-6 or something like that.
LSU didn't cross the halfway or the midfield mark until the fourth quarter.
in the Natty. That was in the Natty earlier in the regular
Natty.
season when they played.
That was field goals galore in the regular
season.
And
everyone was like, oh, Alabama's now not going to play. And then Alabama did play against LSU for the national championship. Everyone's like, well, we already have seen this. We know what's going to happen. And then Alabama won, and then people complained, and that's why we had the college football playoffs, the 14. Yeah. And then Alabama did too well that.
To your point, I think you're right, though. I think, the SEC, I think, is the best way to describe it, is they finally figured out a way to keep their talented offensive players in the SEC.
Yeah.
And I think they got better coaching, better offensive styles. The SEC for a long time was a grinded out league. They were under center, pro style, 11 personnel type of thing. And then everybody else was running spreads and West Coast offenses. And now the SEC, especially you talk about Alabama, was probably kind of the slowest to get to that point. But I'd say about halfway through the Nick Saban years, basically post Derrick Henry, it was like, okay, we need to do this. We need to have a spread. We need to have a more dynamic offense. Whereas the Big Ten has historically ran that style, and now the better teams are running a power O or power I type of formations just to get, look at Ohio State last year, 2 running backs drafted that you look at on just purely on the books is like those guys belong in the SEC in 2010.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and
one of them was an SEC guy, but I digress.
That's true. And then he left. But the person he left and was a big part of the reason why Alabama finally adopted all that, Lane Kiffin. Yeah. But then also, we're going to give him credit for probably the first time in the show's history. This is a big deal. Urban Meyer really revolutionizing the way the SEC played offense.
Yeah.
He was one of the first to bring the spread offense to the SEC specifically.
I think he ran the power spread very well. I agree with that. And that was it was weird because he still ran a power offense, but it was from a spread. Yeah. So, yeah, that's true. Tim Tebow, him and Tim Tebow had a revolutionary career anyways. Then I think if you want to talk about modernizing it, though, and I hate doing this because I was never a Gus Malzahn lover, but I have to say I think it's Gus gets kind of the credit for making that pure spread style. And it wasn't like Gus with Cam. I'm thinking it's Gus with Nick Marshall, that era. Because that was when you saw a lot more of the teams adopt that style. And he's still waiting on Georgia to adopt it, though. I don't know whenever they will, but maybe sometime this century.
Maybe. Who knows? But I completely blanked on this topic. I should have talked about when we talked about college football being ruined by contracts. Lenore Sellers. We're going to go back. Another quarterback. More quarterbacks making the news. According to his family, he was offered $8 million to transfer to another school. And his father said, you don't need $8 million. You are here to get an education and play football. The money will come more or less. Are you believing me now that college football is dead, Kelcey?
No, I'm 100% thinking I went to school 10 years too early is where I'm at in this. Okay. If it's a performance-based pay, I have a problem with it. If it's we want you here and our boosters are supporting you to play here, I don't have as much of a problem because we've talked about this for years about how boosters have failed in the pre-NIL years to actually support their programs outside of buying coaches. That was all they would do. They would fire a coach, buy a coach, and hope for the best. Boosters outside of Alabama, and I could even say for a long time outside of Auburn, boosters struggled. But boosters are what made Notre Dame great. That's what made USC, and when I say great, I mean great media-wise. I know your opinion on Notre Dame, don't worry. But, I think this is one where I look at this. First of all, let me just disagree with Mr. Sellers. I'm sorry, sir, but $8 million, I will go to school after I get my $8 million. I don't care. My allegiance isn't that strong that $8 million wouldn't dissuade me because that's more than most players in the NFL get paid in their first 5 years. Actually, every player in the NFL gets paid in their first 5 years outside of signing bonuses.
Yeah, I would say if it was an absolute bottom tier school that's absolutely going to tank your draft stock, then yeah, don't take the $8 million. If it's a school that's decent, and Lenore Sellers, I think he's going to be in New York for the Heisman ceremony next year. It's not really a hot take, but I think he has a talent where if the school around him is decent, he will be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Barring injury. So I say, and I'm big on loyalty if the player's happy. I'm not against player movement. If there's a reason they want to move, then by all means they should be allowed to. But I'd say take the money and run.
Yeah, like if it's a situation where I'm with you, if it's a situation where you're not happy, bye. I'm out the door as soon as I heard that contract hit the table. I'm in the transfer portal and signing the contract immediately because I'm not letting that go away. You know, that's a lot of money. That is, you talk about life-changing money. I know inflation is what it is today. Who cares? Throw that out the window. $8 million is still a fantastic amount of money. You can buy a very nice house. You can set yourself up for a very long time, and you can go back to school post-playing days and go get yourself a very nice doctorate somewhere. And it's all paid for. Like, all right, cool. I'm not now. This is the difference between me and Lenora Sellers. Lenora Sellers has a potential future in the NFL. I didn't, so obviously that is weighing something. But yeah, if you're not happy, take the money. If you're happy, you know, why are you going to try to leave? Which he did. He's happy. Obviously, he stayed. Maybe.
Yeah. Also, for any South Carolina fans watching this, I am not saying Lenora Sellers should leave South Carolina and Shane Beamer. I think Beamer ball is still an option. I think every couple of years it comes back. I'm just saying for $8 million, is it a wise fiscal decision to stay in Columbia?
In this market, no.
Also, I don't know how much South Carolina is paying him.
You know what? That's a very fair point, and I think it's hard to know. Like, these aren't public numbers in a lot of cases. Like, and they're not public until somebody turns one down. Right. And then you find out, oh, this guy turned down like a $4 million deal. Or it comes out, 2 years later, like they do their post report. And then it's like, okay, well, he made $3 million. That's crazy. I'm not going to encourage anybody to be Quinn Ewers. But I would also say that if you want to go and be Diego Pavia, go be Diego Pavia, who got paid to go from New Mexico State to Vandy. That's all I'm going to say. That's
true. On3 has his NIL valuation of $3.7 million.
Lenoris?
Yeah.
That's fair.
So
I'm
if
okay with this.
I changed my tune. I think staying is fine. You're still making $3.7 million. It's still perfectly good money. And you're playing your way into being a first-round pick.
Yeah. And in South Carolina, that 3.7 is like $8 million in a lot of places.
That's true. That's another thing we didn't think about. Cost of living wherever he goes.
Yeah. If you go to Ohio State, like if they were offering you $8 million, don't take it because it's too expensive to live up there.
If Boston College is offering you $8 million, you might as well just get a minimum wage job in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Your buying power will be much better.
Any Southern California school, forget it. Not happening. Cal Berkeley, potentially. Stanford, no chance.
Still, if they're offering you $8 million, you might as well go somewhere else and just give someone else money.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But we talked about New York. We're going to go over some odds real quick, Kelcey, to kind of get us ready for next season. These are odds from a sports book. I'm not going to say which one. No free ads unless you are Old Bay or Tums, because those are two products I stand by with my chest. I love Tums. I love Old Bay. Remember, if all our videos combined, I'm regretting this word or this number, get 750 views by week 0. Kieran and I will each drink an entire bottle of Old Bay vodka and make content while doing it. Probably not live content. We're going to record it and post it after.
If you survive.
Buddy, if my marriage survives.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's a rough one, man. I know we talked about this when you said it, but like, split the bottle is all I ask. Like for your own sanity and your own liver, maybe split the bottle between the two.
That's part of the problem, though, is he's not anywhere near me.
Hey, you could split the bottle and throw it in a container and an airtight container and ship it to him. There's no way they'll think that's a bomb, right?
But we got to do it week 0. I'm thinking I just got to get up at like 5 and start and then finish by the end of the West Coast game.
That's a lot of day drinking, but drinking something that's flavored like Old Bay and vodka, like 3 hours of that, maybe 13 hours. Like you're talking 14 hours potentially. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah. I wish I picked a higher number, but I can't. I'm not going to change it now.
I think you said 750,000 is what you said, right? That's what I heard.
750, 100. No. Yes. 750,000 is a bit much.
I was trying. So you just add, 1,000 at the end of your 750.
Yeah, like I was thinking, like trying to word it 7,500, so 7,500, because that's ridiculous. But no, I watched the view count on that last video, and I was like, oh no, I've made a mistake.
I think this is the time where I need to start getting some very SEO favored comments towards this betting situation here for Heisman Trophy, and see if I can help you get a 750. I think that's my contribution to this as an Alabama hater. I think I need to make an Alabama fan drink Old Bay vodka.
That's fair. I deserve it. I'm just going to go through all of them real quick, and we're going to talk about some of them. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Arch Manning at plus 600. Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU at plus 850. Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State, plus 1,000. Cade Clubnik also plus 1,000. Drew Aller plus 1,400. Dante Moore out of Oregon plus 1,800. Lenore Sellers and Julian Sayin and DJ Lagway also plus 1,800. Then you have Carson Beck, John Mateer out of Oklahoma, Sam Levitt out of Arizona State plus 2,500. Ryan Williams, Gunnar Stockton plus 3,500. Austin Simmons, Marcel Reed, Dylan Raiola, and Avery Johnson plus 4,000. Do you see the Garrett Nussmeier hype?
I'm surprised you started there, but honestly, I think LSU is one of those schools you have that quarterback every few years that will make waves because he has. You talk about athletic receivers because you have athletic talent around you. I don't love Nussmeier. I can be convinced that Nussmeier is one of the better quarterbacks, but I just don't see it right now. I also just like LSU to me is one of those weird. He's good in bad against bad teams, but he's not good against good teams. He's okay against good teams. He's very empty calorie-esque. As a Dallas Cowboy fan, I watched Dak Prescott so many times, and I can say that he was a empty calorie type of quarterback. And I almost feel like Nussmeier at times can be an empty calorie quarterback, and that's what concerns me about all the hype around him.
That's true. I think if Nussmeier is one of the best quarterbacks in the country next year, it's a wide receiver or running back Heisman year.
I actually agree with that. I think this has got to be one of the skill positions.
Yeah, and Arch, I mean, everyone's talked it to death. Is he that good? I think Steve Spurrier said today, if he's that good, how could he not beat out Quinn Ewers, who was a 7th-round pick?
Well, that was already a hypocrisy that he was a 7th-round pick. I don't get that anyways. I think he was talk about getting paid for NIL. Well, I think he was getting paid back because he chased the bag. He'll look good for somebody as a 7th-round pick, let's say that. But I think this is definitely overhyped. Like, you talk about a pick that's overhyped. This is the one that's overhyped to me. It makes sense because he's at Texas. Texas is quote-unquote back. I will never enjoy that comment. But he's also a Manning. Those all stand out as reasons why. But I don't think this is his year. I think he needs 2 years to get there. And this is not the first year. I could be shocked. Again, I can be convinced. But right now, I'm not seeing this one at all. At all.
That's fair. My final note on the what the hell, Carson Beck. We've seen this story before. We know how it ends. He's already fumbling off the field with the Cavender twins. I get him off this list. He's not winning the Heisman.
Yeah, he's the worst one to me. I will put second worst for me on this list, Cade Clubnik. Can we stop thinking Cade Clubnik is this all-talented god quarterback? He's a good quarterback. He's not the greatest quarterback to ever walk Clemson's halls. He's not even the second best. He's not even the third best. Might be 5th best quarterback to ever walk through Clemson. And he is not the 4th best Heisman Trophy candidate on this list.
I am less offended by Klubnik's numbers than I am Nussmeier's.
That's fair.
I think Klubnik showed good improvement last year because after his first year, it seemed like he was a bust. He had no business being a D1 quarterback, let alone Power 5, let alone FBS. D1 quarterback, there were times he did not look like he belonged. And he showed improvement. If he can keep building on that, I don't think it's crazy to think. I think with Nussmeier, though, with how hyped he's been and he was hyped going into last year. I've not seen much growth from him, and I think I would not be surprised if Clubnik is higher on the voting list at the end of next season than Nussmeier.
Yeah, that's fair. You know what? Going into next season, sure. But right now, this feels too early again. I look at this list, and honestly, if I'm looking quarterbacks, Drew Aller, Dante Moore, Lenore Sellers make a lot more sense. Julian Sayin makes a lot more sense just given the talent that he has in that receiving core. Literally, they're going to have another 3 receivers drafted in the next 3 years. That's how that receiving core is, drafted in the first 2 rounds. Sam Levitt being as far down, being equal with Carson Beck seems offensive to Sam Levitt, considering what he did with Arizona State last year, which had no big receiver. They had 2 decent receivers, and then they had Cam Scatabo. But, they didn't. Sam Levitt deserves some hype. I also think Ryan Williams being that low is offensive as well. That's blasphemous. Dylan Raiola, I don't care anymore. I'm over the Patty lookalike.
Yeah.
But yeah, like quarterback wise, why is Drew Aller, Dante Moore, Lenore Sellers not above Clubnik? That's the part where I question everything.
That's true. We're going to do the same thing for the national championship odds, but I did not tell you doing this since you tell us we need betting content more. What is your best bet based on odds and expectations to win out of these Heisman, or someone else who's not on here who has worse odds in theory?
Just to win, just to win, like Heisman or Natty.
Heisman will do Natty after this.
Oh, okay.
If you also want to take into account odds, like if you think Avery Johnson at plus 4,000, I don't know why you would, is great value, then that, your best value pick, bang for your buck.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a Ryan Williams year where it's worth having that conversation around bang for your buck, because I think sitting there, plus 3,500, that's an easy take. That's if you're going to compare Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams, I think Ryan Williams has more potential because of the offense for DeBoer, whereas Jeremiah Smith has Sayin, who looks good, but I don't trust an offense that just lost its OC and going back to Ryan Day running its offense. I don't trust Ryan Day at all. So I think, if you look at the receivers, that's Ryan Williams' opportunity to continue. And he also got bigger and stronger and faster, and that was the big knock on him, is 17-year-old kid. He's thin, like a rail. You add some muscle to him. He looks like Jeremiah Smith's build now. What can he do as an 18, 19-year-old now? That's a crazy thought. So for me, Ryan Williams is kind of the save a couple dollars, maybe win a couple dollars type of pick.
That's fair, and that makes my Alabama heart happy. My pick is not quite as much value as yours, but DJ Lagway. I think he saved Billy Napier's job last year. I don't know why Billy Napier did not start him all year. I think another year of growth with him. I think he will have a very long leash to do what he wants to do and put himself and hopefully Florida, but especially himself, in a position to look good.
That's fair. By the way, one off the board, just to throw that out there. Bryce Underwood from Michigan. Plus 6,000 odds. And if there's a Wolverine that has an opportunity, talk about from the Big Ten, I think it's Bryce Underwood, my pick. Because that dude is a man. And you talk about young players, they always get this hype. He's going to get plenty of TV time with all that hype, for sure.
That's true. That's a good one also. He's a true freshman, though, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's 6'5", 6'6", built like a 40-year-old man, but like a muscular 40-year-old man, maybe a 30-year-old man.
That's fair. I don't hate it. I'm just, that's a little true freshman. I think you have to have a historically great year.
Yeah, that's the limit of like how far I would go down this list. But if I'm going to pick one that's that far down the list, that's going to be the one I'm picking.
All right. Now moving on to the Natty with these odds. Again, these are from a known sports book. Again, no free ads, but I'm not just pulling these out of my ass. I know that these, or not I know, but just to be clear, I'm not slighting any team by giving them made up bad odds. Auburn, Tennessee, see you on here.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know how Auburn's on that, by the way.
I don't know. But first up, Ohio State and Texas at both of them at plus 500, Georgia plus 650, Penn State plus 750, Oregon plus 800, Clemson plus 1300, Notre Dame plus 14, Alabama and LSU both at plus 1500, Michigan at plus 2200, Ole Miss 2500, Tennessee A&M and Miami 3000, South Carolina and Florida 4,000, Auburn 6,600, Oklahoma plus 5,000. Don't know why Auburn is above Oklahoma in this. Louisville plus 8,000, SMU also plus 8,000, Arizona State plus 9,000, and USC plus 10 racks. Kelcey, what's your best value pick here? Are there any other ones you're going, what the hell is this? Stop doing crack.
If it's going to be outside of the two conferences we talked about so far, Big Ten and SEC, Arizona State, again, Sam Levitt commentary, reopen that here. I don't think it is. And so then I'm going back up this list and I'm looking right back at Michigan, right back at Alabama, right back at Oregon. Realistically, Oregon is to me, that's my favorite to win, followed by Ohio State. So plus 800 for Oregon. That sounds great to me. I'm fine with those odds. Maybe it's an Oregon and more type of year. You go Oregon for national championship, more for a Heisman Trophy. You double those up, sure. Dan Lanning's a hard guy to root against in a lot of ways. Like if you're not going up against Oregon every week, Dan Lanning's a hard guy to hate.
I don't disagree. Do you know what I was thinking though as I was reading that? If you could manage to find someone to take a bet with good odds that Ohio State and Oregon will not, or Oregon, because they both can't, will not win the national championship, you take that money and run. That's free money. A Ryan Day coached offense will not win a national title.
Yeah.
Ever. And I don't want to say ever. I don't know if Oregon can win a national title. I think they sold their souls to the devil for cool drip. And now this is the result. They cannot win a national title.
Hey, Phil Knight made Nike a number one household brand is all I'm going to say. Without Nike, we don't have an Ohio State. We don't have a Texas. We don't have a Georgia. We don't have a Penn State. We don't have an Alabama. We definitely don't have Oregon. That's all I'm going to say. You guys are all premier schools. And by the way, now Auburn is a Nike school. So
good. Schools not being Nike schools blows my mind.
Under Armour worked for Auburn for a long time because they literally shipped the entire house to put that brand on Auburn's jerseys. But it's so much better than Russell, no matter what you say. Auburn having Under Armour was 10 times better than Russell, and now it's like, okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But Miami being an Adidas school is also gross.
That's offensive. That just doesn't look right. Like the fact the Adidas logo is as big as the U. Okay, guys, what are we doing?
Yeah. Boston College being a New Balance school now fits.
Yeah. Also, Notre Dame being an Adidas school also fits, by the way.
Yeah.
Because that's just like, it screams European.
100%.
Like, screams you just want to try to be better than everybody else, so you're going to think European.
That's true. But best value for me, it's going to be bad. I got to go Alabama. I think that's a really good value. I think Kalen DeBoer still has guys there who he can build around, guys who want to be there. They can get that culture going. He can get the team to look the way he wants. And also, Nick Saban's still there hanging around Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, still running
probably
a lot of practices. Yeah,
probably because Miss Terry wanted him out of the house.
Like they bought that nice house in North Georgia, just outside Stone Mountain. You thought she'd want him to keep him around a little more, but nah.
No, she wanted him gone.
Like, all right, you're here too much, man. You got to go. He is literally the Airbnb Verbo commercial all over again.
Yeah,
at home.
100%. Is there anyone on here more so the top half? Because I know the bottom half gets a little ridiculous with schools like Auburn, Florida, Miami. That's a little
just keep twisting the knife, why don't you? Huh?
Yeah. Any other schools in here that you're like, why are they here?
I don't trust Dabo for anything, and I think I've made that clear so far. I don't trust Cade Clubnik. So Clemson to me is like, why are they here? Penn State, obviously Drew Aller's a big reason why you're here, but at the same time, you're Penn State. You proved last year you finally won a big one, but you didn't win the big one. And then Georgia is always a question when you change quarterbacks the way they did, but I think Gunnar Stockton's better for Kirby and that defense than I think you would have ever saw with Carson Beck. So it's also hard to disagree with that. But yeah, for me, it's like I look at Clemson, just Dabo Swinney. I don't trust him. He can't recruit offensive linemen, and I don't trust you if you can't recruit offensive linemen. They're easy. You offer them a cake. You just come up and give them free steak and free cake, and you're going to be good to go. That's it. Unless you get those Alabama linemen who are athletic, then you got a problem. Protein.
Yeah, they're still big.
Yeah, but I've seen one of those guys jump 60 inches and not really 60, it was like 35 inches and do the split. So I don't. That's
true
anymore.
Yeah, no, that's an oversized linebacker.
Yeah, look, when I see Jordan Davis being athletic with Georgia, and I see guys for Alabama that should be playing offensive line playing tight end or linebacker, I'm like, hold on, guys. Or your safeties are bigger than most people's starting middle linebacker. We have a problem.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, for you guys.
It's so fun. But some schools that I'm like, why the hell are you here? I don't disagree with Penn State. I think they have started getting the monkey off their back, but it's holding on for dear life. They did win a big game, but they did not beat any of the usual suspects who usually beat up on them. So I think that makes it hard to buy in on Penn State. Kieran is not going to be thrilled listening to this, but he's going to go, yeah, it's fair. Michigan, I'm still not sold on more. I know Underwood is supposedly legit. I don't know. And I know they're suspending him, but with that hanging over the program, I don't know. Ole Miss.
I'll say, here's the thing with Michigan that you just need to keep an eye on is it's been 5 years since Ohio State beat Michigan.
Oh, they'll beat Michigan again. I just don't know. Or they'll beat Ohio State again. I just don't know if they'll win a natty.
But that's the one thing that equalizes a lot of their conversation, that they could be a 2-loss team but beat Ohio State and be in the playoffs. That's the thing with them that gives them a chance. And then we've seen with them, you beat Ohio State, you got a lot of momentum going into the next round. Like, you feel pretty good. And also, if you're playing Ohio State for those type of odds, you probably beat Penn State. So,
oh yeah, no, Michigan will beat Penn State regardless.
That's the thing with Michigan that's hard to like discount, is just because they're so dominant against Ohio State right now. I don't know if I can ever count them out yet.
That's fair. Also, Ole Miss, something's going to go wrong down the stretch for them.
Yeah.
Lane's going to get involved with some player's girlfriend or something, some booster's daughter, and it's going to go off the rails. Tennessee, they got that puke inside of pumpkin orange, and I will never, ever be okay with potentially seeing them win a national title. Texas A&M sold their soul for Jimbo Fisher, and now they have Mike Elko, who looked good, but I'm not sure. Miami, Mario is just going to not call a kneel down to end a game and lose in the playoffs if they make it. South Carolina.
Just fine. Well, no, and Mario's going to be just fine. It's going to be Carson Beck that's going to sell this one. He'll throw 304 picks in a game.
Oh, he's the one who's going to fumble when Mario doesn't call a kneel down. So, yeah, it's only a couple months left until week 0. Kelcey, thank you for coming on. You are always welcome back to the tailgate. We appreciate having you on. The only Auburn fan that I can talk to for an hour without being overly mean about your school.
It's okay. I'm equally as mean about my own school, so it makes us even.
That's fair. But, Kelcey, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find us every Wednesday or Thursday, depending on which version you're watching, over on the @HighLowSports Instagram or Facebook, @high_low_sports, Twitter. I think I said that right this time. Or over on the Belly Up Sports YouTube page on Thursdays when our video goes live on the YouTube page. Be sure to check out all that. We got a bunch of shorts that come out on our own YouTube page @HighLowSports, and a lot of different content coming out everywhere. DJ does a lot of UFCs. We're getting close to the NFL season, so you know how that goes. We get ready for week 1 of the NFL season. You'll hear a lot of college football talk as well, because you can't have NFL players without college players. So we do cover them both. But yeah, that's going to be coming up here in August. So a lot of great stuff coming up.
Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff happening. Also, just at Belly Up in general. Check out at Belly Up Sports wherever you are on social media. Check out the YouTube. There's a lot of great shows on there. Not just mine, not just Kelcey's. Sometimes Jared's is pretty entertaining, but there's a lot of other good ones that you would like. A lot of great blogs coming out on the website. Go check it out. Support us. We appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe to my stuff, Kelcey stuff, all Belly Up stuff when you get a chance, wherever you find it. And everyone have a good, safe, fun weekend. They're eating the dogs, Kieran, in Tuscaloosa.
They're eating the
you know
dogs.
that?
They were
They're
eating
the
the dog.
dogs.
Oh, a meth raccoon.
Yeah.
Just awful. There is nothing good about this. It's the worst possible scenario for the CFP, for the national championship.
Notre Dame is a mid-program with really good marketing.
And the Michigan players are going to look at that, and anybody who's committing to Michigan in the next years and just go, I want to beat them even more. Like, I wanted to beat them when I first came to this school. Recruits are going to see this.
And we're also sorry that you have to watch a Brian Kelly coach football team. We can only imagine how difficult that must be for you, knowing that you're not going to win a big game ever with him as your coach and that you're rooting for a child murderer.
This podcast has gone off to a really weird start, but I like it.
I love it, though. I'm a big fan.